Hello, good evening, everyone. So, all the people who are here today, we will be going ahead with our session shortly. We're just waiting for a few more people to join so that everybody is on track to go forward. While we wait for some more people to join, I will just launch a couple of poll questions for you to answer, so that we can get an idea of what is the kind of audience we're dealing with today before we dive into the session. So I'll introduce myself eventually, but before any of that, I hope you can hear me when I'm speaking, right? So I would like you to answer this poll question for everyone. Uh, just say yes or no whether you can hear me. So if everybody could quickly answer this poll question, yes or no. I hope everybody can hear me. Okay, the responses are coming in. All right, a couple of people are still yet to submit their responses. Please go ahead. In case any of you cannot hear me, do check your audio settings, or you could just exit and join back again. That would be fine as well. But I feel everybody who's here can hear me. Excellent. All right. So I'm sure everybody can hear me now. Now, going forward, uh,
Excellent. So everybody, a very warm welcome to you for the Focus of the Month session. You know that we do these kind of Focus of the Month session. I'm going to be introducing my co-host in a minute, who was just speaking to you. But very happy that you're all able to hear us. And as you know, I'm one of the co-founders at Career Labs, and I'm very pleased to be helping you today for taking your careers forward. Today is a very important discussion, which is understanding how can you draft your resume that you will be submitting to your placements, and of course understanding how to submit a cover letter. I know there's no more letter, but it's called an email. But just how do you submit a cover email, etc. I know that many of you will be looking for jobs only later, meaning probably in say August or September time. That's when it starts for many, June, July, August. But it is important for you to start now itself so that you know where you stand, and accordingly you can design your profile building activities. It gives me great pleasure to also introduce my co-host, and who's going to guide you through the session. I'm going to be available in the session, but what I'll do is I'm going to be answering a lot of your questions. Couple things you need to know in terms of like webinar housekeeping is that we have a lot of handouts for you today. So please go and just download the handouts. And in a minute, I'm just going to request my co-host to introduce himself and then get started on today's session. So wishing everybody a great session today, and I'm here to support you on questions, and I'll be back again to support you on the questions. Over to you, Shikhar. Yeah.
thank you so much, Kritika. So yeah, as promised, I'll go ahead. I'll introduce myself. Shikhar Jaiswal here, senior editor here at Career Labs with the Admissions Consulting Services division, and I have had experience of guiding more than 500 clients across B school applications, grad school applications, and job applications as well, for that matter. And the main reason why we are here today, as you guys already know, is to understand how to work on your CV, right? Possibly to get some of your CV done already within this session itself, right? In addition to that, we'll also be understanding how you work on your cover letter, or as I said, your cover email these days, and what are the do's and don'ts, how you go about it, what are the things that you need to include in it, when it's required and when it's not. And by the end, we will have a quick Q&A session wherein I will be answering your questions. Ritika is here as well to answer your questions, as well as our team will be obviously answering any questions that you have, during the session throughout. So I highly encourage everybody to be very interactive. Feel free, go ahead to ask your questions, and the team will answer them. And I'll be picking up a few of them as well to answer. Okay. Now, before we dive into the session, I have one more poll question for you all, which I'd like you to answer. So, what is the status of your CV right now? Have you not started with it at all, or is it it's pretty much ready but not in the right format, or you don't have any CV at all? Okay, so most of you, I think, have a CV. That's what I'm getting from the responses. All right. So yeah, most of you do have a CV, and some of you are saying that you haven't started on your CV yet. I think for both of you, both of these groups, we will be able to tackle the issues a little today. Because if you started your CV, it's in a different format. You will be able to understand how to, focus on the right details. What are the things that you need to bring that might be missing from your version of the CV right now? And of course, for people who haven't started it all, there's no better time than now, right? So I will just close this result. Yeah. Now, the objectives of today's session, right? What are we trying to do? We're trying to understand a CV, how it differentiates from a resume, and understand its components. We would try to learn about how to write about your projects in the CV, because let's face it, I think you all are applying for jobs, right? You're all looking for jobs, and preferably technical jobs in the technical field. So obviously, you would want to highlight your technical skills that are relevant to the job, that make you a good fit for the role, right? Of course, we are also trying to get your current CV ready, which I genuinely, request all of you to work on parallelly with the session today. Along with that, we understand what's the difference between an academic or a job resume, right? And how to draft a cover letter as well. So I would like to know, what are you most excited for? What are you most looking forward to in today's session? To be honest, I am excited for all of these aspects, but I definitely like to know what the audience is interested in for today. Which are the portions that you're looking forward to the most? Okay. Okay, most of the people are saying they want to identify and tackle essential components of a CV. Okay, writing projects and internships, CV highlights for the job search, writing cover letters. Okay, that's a good mix. I think everybody is interested in something or the other, and everything is spread out very well, I would say. It's not like people are only interested in one aspect of it. That's good. That's a good sign. So, all right, I'll just pull this down. Sorry. I would also want to understand what are the challenges that you're facing right now, because most of you are saying that your CV is not in the right format, or you haven't been able to start with it at all. What are the key challenges that you people are facing right now? Because I would like to focus on those aspects a little more. So please fill in your responses for this, go through all of the options, let me know what are the challenges you're facing, and let's try to tackle those out. Some people are saying not enough activities. Okay, don't know where to start. Okay, okay. So I assume nobody is facing challenges in describing their research experience, right? Basically, their projects, post projects, undergraduate projects. Nobody is having issues with that. Okay, that's a good sign actually. But we'll still be discussing that as well. But then, of course, the other activities as well. So to be very straightforward, I'll just answer this query for some of you who think that they do not have a lot of activities or they don't know where to start. See, in terms of activities, you would need to focus on those which would show something positive about you from the job perspective, right? So if you are leading a team, say in a sport, say you were a football team captain or a cricket team captain, what would it show about you? It shows that you have the ability to strategize, to lead, and to work with people, right? Same goes for any other sort of team-based activity. So try to focus on those a lot. Okay. Hobbies to a large extent would not be very relevant for a particular job, right? So maybe a little less on that. Again, feel free to explore whatever you want to do. But if you're thinking strategically, you should try to shape your activities in a manner that they show something positive uh, towards your job application. All right. So I think that's where most of you can start. Now, let's dive into the actual session. Um, what makes a profile of a job seeker, or how do you prepare the ideal profile of a job seeker? What are the different things that you need to prepare for? Of course, you'll prepare for your technical and aptitude tests, your soft skills. You prepare your cover letter, of course. That's something we'll be discussing today. You prepare for your technical interview, your mark sheets. You get all of your scorecards and mark sheets in one place, right? You prepare for group discussions, etc., etc., etc. And then comes the most important part, or the first step of the entire journey, that is your CV. Because that will, your CV will basically, or your resume for that matter, will basically be the first impression that you create on a potential employer, right? So that's the reason why we are focusing so much on this. And yeah, going forward, this would be your ideal timeline right now, correct? So most of you, I understand, would be working on the first aspect of it, the first part of it, right? Which is working on internships and projects, trying to figure out what are the best suited career tracks for you. What are you more interested in? What are you more inclined towards? And automatically, you would be trying to specialize in that particular career track as well, right? Uh, Based on that specialization, again, you turn back to the internships and projects. So you would try to take up internships and projects that are relevant to the particular career track that you're going for. So it's a cyclical process, right? Once that is done, you would want to go ahead and complete your advanced courses, and then you should be ready for your applications. But again, what do you need to be ready for your applications? Your job or job CV or resume. Now, this is a pretty simple thing. Most of you have said that you're not sure where to start, right? Some of you might be feeling that it will take a lot of time. It takes nothing more than 2 hours of dedicated effort. Okay, and I'll show you just how you can handle the different sections of your CV and get it done within 2 hours of proper dedicated effort. All right. So the easiest section to get done is the education section. That is done in 5 minutes itself. Okay. A major chunk of your work would be going towards your projects, the technical projects that you've worked on with relevance to the kind of role that you're looking for, right? So getting the basic version of it ready with all of the required details, and then transferring it to the career research experience section in the resume or in your CV, right? That would take a little more time. So that is a major thing that you would need to focus on. Besides that, you have your work experience section. Now, I would like you all to answer this in the chat box or in the questions tab itself as well. Okay. How many of you people already have at least one internship? Have you completed at least one internship? If you have, say yes. Okay, I assume nobody here has completed an internship yet. Okay, a couple of people have, right? Mm-hmm. All right, somebody says in diploma. I'm not sure what that means, but then I guess a couple of you at least have completed internships, right? So we will be briefly discussing that as well. In fact, for a job seeker, especially in an entry level job, right, the work experience would mainly cater to the internship. So that's what we talk about in finishing the work experience section. That takes another, say, 5 minutes. Besides that, you have leadership experience, which I just explained. What's the importance of it? To show that you have leadership qualities and to show that you can work with people, right? All of that. Besides that, you'll have your other extracurricular activities, volunteering experience, your awards, languages, etc. Then you do the formatting and you're done. So if you count all of these minutes, in total it comes down to 120. That's 2 hours. Okay. But again, when I was speaking, I was talking about curriculum vitae, that is CV, and I was talking about resume, right? So, okay, before I explain this, what do you people think? Is a CV and a resume one and the same, or are they two different things? I'll just launch another poll question for everybody to answer. Is a CV the same as a resume? Is a resume the same as a CV? Or is there any difference between the two? So the people who are voting no, I would want to see responses from you in the chat. Why you say no, and I would want to see responses from the people saying yes as well. Why you think that both are the same? So a few people have said yes, but a majority of you say no. Why is that? Why do you say that both are not the same? What's your idea of it? Okay, silence on that. All right, all right. I'll tell you what is the difference between the two. But then yes, majority of you are right in saying that a resume and a CV are two very different documents. The difference is that a CV comprises of everything you've done, right? all projects, all internships, okay, all activities, all awards, everything, right? That makes it longer as well. On the other hand, a resume is more focused and more targeted. So usually they would expect a one-page document as a resume. Okay. Again, obviously, as you understand, the CV would be more comprehensive, while the resume would want to focus on key highlights, right? Especially for a job application, you would want to focus on your key technical skills that will make you well qualified for the job, right? And again, that explains it. A resume is used mainly for job applications as well as the school applications. So let's say in the future, if you want to go for an MBA, right? Or even an MIM for that matter, Masters in Management, you would again want to use a one-page resume. But if you're going for, say, an MS program or other research positions, you can use your entire CV, the longer version of it, right? So the key differences are the length, of course, the what it highlights, that is your skills. The resume is more targeted for a particular purpose, be it an admission, be it job application, right? And of course, where it is applicable, right? So I think now you have a better clarity on this aspect. Um, all right. Before we proceed, all right, let me just check if I have another poll question for you. Otherwise, we can go ahead. Now, I think that's it. So now, coming to the typical components of a job CV, most of you are saying that, yeah, that's something you want to understand. What are the different things that you can include in your CV, right? So these are the components of a job CV. First of all, obviously, your education qualifications, that's your 10th grade, 12th grade, and most importantly, your most recent qualification. That might be your bachelor's. Now, some of you might be still pursuing your bachelor's, course. So for them also, I'll explain how you write it, how you mention your scores and dates and everything. But that's the most basic aspect, the first and foremost aspect. Besides that, we have your research experience, which is all of your projects, your final undergraduate project, other course projects, capstone projects, and in case you have any publications, as in you got your work published in the journal, right? Or you have delivered presentations at a reputed conference, or if you have patents under your name. All of these can also be included within the research experience section. Besides that, of course, you have the professional experience section, and I think you people, most of you here would have internships or probably part-time jobs, not necessarily full-time work experience, right? So we can just omit that, but we'll focus more on internships. Besides that, other activities, yeah, extracurricular activities, which does include leadership experience, yes, or positions of responsibility. The reason why we put it separately is because that carries a lot of weight. Leadership experience, being a club president or anything, carries a lot of weight. And then, of course, you have all your other activities that could be, hobby-based activities or your volunteering activities, awards, etc. Right. So first, let's just quickly discuss education. And while we are doing this, I would like you to download the handouts. I hope all of you have already downloaded the handouts, but in particular, I want you to look into this CV template. That's Career Labs Placement CV template Feb 2023. All right, so I'll just give 5 seconds for any of you who have not downloaded it yet to go ahead and download it and open that. All right. So the first couple of things we'll see from the top of the document would be, of course, the header, which is your name, your contact details, and everything. So very quick to fill these out. Go ahead, do it right now. Okay. Besides that, we see this thing called objective or summary or profile. Right? Please don't use all three of these in your document. Use any one of these. You can call it an objective, you can call it a summary or a profile or whatever. What goes into this is basically a summary of who you are, what you're good at, and why exactly you are writing this resume, or for what purpose you're making this resume or submitting this resume. Okay, so there you talk about just a 2 to 4 sentence sort of a statement which covers all of these things. Your basic, key qualification, that includes your skills, your education, your prior experience. In fact, for that matter, if you have a couple of really decent internships, that could be something you can very briefly talk about over here as well. This gives a basic summary of the profile that the recruiter is looking at. Okay. And after that, of course, as I was saying, you come to the academic details section. That's your education and then areas of interest or coursework taking. So education, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Just fill in your educational details. 12th grade, you mentioned the name and city, the same you do for 10th as well, right? If your mark sheets show your scores as CGPA, you mention the CGPA along with the scale. If it's out of 10, it's out of 10. If it's out of 5 or 4, you mention it accordingly. On the other hand, many boards, give percentages. If it's a percentage, just mention it as say 90% or 80%, whatever it is, right? And of course, the month and year of completion. Now, some of you, since you might be still pursuing your bachelor's degrees, you might not have a month and year of completion for your bachelor's degree, right? In that case, you can just mention the expected month and year. Let's say you expect to complete your course in May of 2023. Just mention it as May 2023 with the star. The star basically shows that this is currently ongoing. You haven't completed it. Okay. The rest of it remains the same: college name, city, campus, your score, etc. One thing to keep in mind over here is don't just leave this as bachelor's degree. Do go ahead and make it your own. Whatever your degree says on your mark sheets and the documents, right? Like BTech in computer science, BE in artificial engineering, whatever it is, right? Go ahead, mention this over here. All right. So I'll just give you a couple, I think a minute to just put this in before we move on with the rest of it. And I'll launch the poll very quickly. Let me know once you're done with the education section. Okay, one person is done. Yay. Others, please, quick. So while I'm waiting for the others to fill this in, I will quickly also discuss the next two very, very short sections, right? Which are areas of interest and coursework that you've taken. Now, areas of interest basically means the kind of subjects and topics from your bachelor's curriculum that are most relevant to the job you're looking for, right? So while you're filling your education section, you can fill this in as well. Let's say I am looking for a data science and AI/ML job. So that those will be the courses that I'll talk about in coursework taken if I've done those before. Similarly, areas of interest can also say the same. Okay. Now, where coursework taken becomes different is the specific name of the coursework, right? So, like say advanced AI algorithms, if I've taken a course on that and that is relevant for the job that I'm applying for, I'll go ahead and mention over here. Right? So ideally in your resume or in your CV, you would want to keep just the maximum top four of your most relevant ones, both for the courses and for the areas of interest as well. Areas of interest is basically the areas in which you want to work, right? So make sure these are relevant with the role you're looking for. Now, I think everybody's done this, and yes, I have 100% on that. Excellent. So now we'll move ahead with the next portion, right? So you can just quickly look at these sample CVs. Again, they are not a sample quote unquote in any manner, as in you should use them itself, because you'll notice our CV template is very simple. It's very straightforward, right? The reason for that is because it is very, it is made from the perspective of being machine searchable, okay, or ATS readable. So for that matter, it just talks about the bare bones of your work, right? What matters, not so much into the colors and the formats and everything. Okay. So we do not necessarily want you to work on a CV like this, but if you want to do that in the future, go ahead, do it. But then right now we would want you to focus on content instead. Okay. This is the kind of CV that many recruiters get, and then they, eventually feel that we are not getting the kind of information that we're looking for really. So if you follow our methods, if you follow our template entirely, from beginning to end, if you provide the right details of your projects, internships, etc., they will obviously be able to get the right details from you. Okay. And a couple of things that I'm seeing over here, right? Your Twitter ID, your Facebook ID, your Instagram ID, and all of that. Right? I hope you understand that these might not really be necessary. You can definitely go ahead and put in your LinkedIn ID over there, but these might not be necessary. That necessary. That basically brings me to this. What do you think? You should add your personal biodata in your CVs. Um, I think many of you would have received some sort of a basic CV template from your college or university as well, right? And some, if not all, might have these things as well. Do you think these are required? I just would like to get your opinion on this. What do the people think? Are things like your father's name, your gender, address, nationality, date of birth, blah blah blah, all of these, are they needed in a resume? Okay, I have responses pouring in. Okay, so while a majority of you people say no, there are a couple of people who are saying yes. So, see, the general answer would be no. You should usually not put these into your resume or your CV because these lead to biases, right? Or they have the potential to lead to biases, so to speak. But some recruiters do ask for these details. In case you are applying to an employer who is actually specifically asking for these details to be included, go ahead, include it. In that case, don't skip. But otherwise, as a general blanket rule, you should not include all of these in your resumes. Now, moving ahead to the other sections, I understand that the education section is ready by all, complete by all of you. The next couple of things that we would look into would be our extracurricular activities and leadership experience. Okay. Again, I would not want to spend a lot of time on these because these are pretty simple and straightforward. Just a second, I think it's lagging. Yeah, yeah. So we would next focus on leadership experience and extracurricular activities. Um, Looking at these other sections, right? Awards and extracurricular activities, languages, things like that. You can quickly just follow this format that you see over here and mention what you've done. Okay. So, of course, participation in events, you've volunteered for a particular event, or you participated in organizing a particular event, or handling the operations of a particular event, or whatever it is. You can simply mention it like this, right? But something that I want everybody to really focus on showing very clearly is this aspect: organized XX and YY, managed XX and YY. So focus on the work that you have done for any sort of volunteering or say even a position of responsibility. That's the first point under awards and extracurricular activities, right? Position within this department or body or fest or whatever it is, at what organization, might be your college. What you have done in the at what scale and what impact it has had. These are the things that should be very clearly put in over there, right? Let's say I was a president of the music club for one whole year, right? And in that entire year, if I did not organize anything, if I did not do anything, would my presidentship of the club be of any value? No, right? The same applies if you're not mentioning it. You might have done excellent work, but if you're not mentioning it over here clearly, then a recruiter or even for that matter, if you're applying to a program, right, an academic program, whoever is looking at your resume, whoever is looking at your CV, they'll think that okay, this person hasn't really done anything in this role. Okay, that's something you do not want at all. So yeah, so there's that, right? Besides that, obviously we have a very simple section which is languages. Whatever languages you know, say English, you mention English, along with the proficiency, read, write, or speak. In case you have any foreign languages that you have proper certifications for, like French, German, etc., you can include those over here as well, along with, of course, the proper certification, A1, A2, B1, B2, whatever it is, right? So these are some other, very simple and easy sections to fill. Besides that, from a technical perspective, right, since you're applying for a technical role, a technical job, you would want to show your technical skills, your key technical skills. And just like the profile, summary, etc., do not use all three of these. Just focus on computer skills or technical skills or software skills, whatever you want to call it, right? And these are the things that you put in over here. You are comfortable working with Windows, Linux, Mac OS, mention those. Languages, C++, Java, etc. Just mention those over here. Database and client server technologies, SQL, MySQL, etc. Go ahead, mention them, and so on. Besides that, Let's say you've taken a course in Python, right, from edX, right, which is provided by a particular university called University of Illinois. You would mention that over here under your certifications, Python or Introduction to Python or whatever the course is called, followed by the authority or the university which has created the course, followed by the certification platform, which would be edX, and then the month and year of completion. Simple as that. Okay. Besides these, you also have other areas to put in, like we were discussing earlier, right? For the research experience section. If you have projects and all, you mentioned those under research experience section. And this is sort of something that goes along with it, your publications, presentations, and conferences. Again, when we say conferences or presentations for that matter as well, we don't mean those, term end sort of presentations wherein you have to present your project in front of your class. That everybody has to do. It's not that what we mean over here by presentation. What we mean is if you've presented at a particular seminar or a conference on a particular topic relevant to your field, you can definitely mention those over here. The same goes for publications as well. Under publications, please do not write something like that, the fact that you've written an article in your college magazine or something. That's not what we mean. Publications are proper published project work in a reputed journal. All right. So that's how you basically go about this as well. With that, we're done with these two very basic sections. Would you like to fill that out right now, or would you want to go ahead with the session? I would genuinely ask everybody to fill at least one of these bullet points, one of these in their sections. So if you had one position of responsibility, fill out the first one. If you participated in an event, fill out the entire thing for that. Or if you have an award, you fill out that for it. Okay. I think I'll just give everybody 2 minutes. I'll stay silent and wait for everybody to fill that up. Just a couple of things to get done with it. In the meantime, if any of you have any questions regarding these additional sections, please feel free to go ahead and ask because I would like to answer those before I move ahead to, other things like your projects, your internships, etc. Somebody has asked a question. What if I haven't done any publications? What if I don't have any publications? Right? It's fine. It's perfectly fine. See, anything in this, let's say you don't have an award as well. What would you do? You don't mention it. But it's important to know how to mention all of our things in the proper manner. Okay. So somebody could just say French over here under languages as well. Right? And what is their understanding of French? They might have watched a particular French web series without subtitles, or maybe possibly with subtitles as well, and they understood a few words. That wouldn't be good enough, right? They would need to have proper qualification in French from an internationally recognized body, right? So that's what we talk about. Similarly, if you have any publications, mention them properly. That's all. If you don't have any, it's fine, not a problem. Okay, work on the other sections, work on the other areas. I hope that answers your question. Any other queries regarding these sections, please feel free to ask. In fact, it doesn't have to be limited to just these as well. You can also look at these other things, professional development, or if you've attended major workshops or seminars, you can talk about those. Any academic awards, not just sports awards and things like that, any academic awards that you might have had. In fact, even during your internships, if you have been able to secure an award, good for you. You can mention them over here as well. Besides that, any sort of international experience where you've studied abroad, right, or possibly done an internship with a foreign company, right? We could basically talk about those things here as well. Just giving a couple more minutes for people who are filling their sections, and then we'll be going ahead. I would like to quickly get an idea of where we are, which sections people have completed. Okay, I think the poll does not show all of the sections, which is fine. If you have completed other sections, please mention that in the chat as well, in the chat or in questions. At least areas of interest and education, everybody should have completed by now. Objective, yes, you can work on it later. Obviously, you will keep refining it for every job as well, right? It will change from job to job, right? You might feel a certain set of skills match more to a particular role. Say Python and a few other things match this, but then another skill matches better in another role. So you can go ahead and adjust those as you go. Okay, but I'm not getting any other sections from you people. Extracurricular activities, volunteering, any of those that you filled? No, nobody. Okay, good. Yeah, now a couple of people are saying that they've done it. Excellent. Okay. Okay, at least the basic sections are done for everybody, right? That's good. Now, we'll go ahead and move on to the next section of it, right? Which deals with your research experience and professional experience, right? And as I understand, some of you have internships. I do not think any of you would have full-time work experience, but I would just like to just confirm that. So, if you can mention over here what kind of work experience you presently have, internships, full-time, none at all, any part-time work experience, anything. Okay, somebody says none. Okay. Where are all the people who said that they have internships? Yeah, now they're responding. Okay. So nobody has any sort of a full-time work experience or even part-time for that matter, right? It's all internships or nothing at all. Okay, okay. So again, as part of your profile building activities, I'm sure you people are looking for internships as well before you get placed to get proper experience to refine your skills in the right direction in the right areas. Okay, as per your interest. So do continue with that. And when we discuss the internships and how you mention like what all are the things that you need to mention about your internships, we'll briefly cover that aspect as well. I don't think everybody has answered yet, but I guess most people have. All right. I'll just close the poll since I think most people have answered the questions, just in the interest of time. All right. So before we come to internships, right? Again, I would like to look into the projects or the research experience because that I'm sure most of you would have, right? Right. Okay. One more poll question for that then. Which of these different kind of projects do you have under uh, research experience right now? As in, not written properly. You haven't written it, it's fine. But what have you worked on? Have you worked on course projects that basically accompany your courses throughout the program? Or if you're in your final semester or final year, you would have your undergraduate project underway, right? That's your final undergraduate project. Okay. Most people do have course projects. That's good. Everybody has course projects. Awesome. Okay. Some people are saying undergraduate project. So I'll just clarify for everybody. When we say undergraduate project, we mean the final undergraduate project, right? The last one, the most important one, the one with the most scores as well. So that would ideally be in the last semester or in the in the final year at least. Okay, some people have independent projects as well. I would like to know what these independent projects are from. Are they from, research assistantships? Where exactly are these independent projects from? Or maybe if you're working on things on your own as well, that's fine. So go ahead, whoever has said independent projects, just you can inform us in chat what kind of projects those are. Okay, all right. So with that out of the way, I understand that most of you do have course projects. That's good. Now we need to understand how to write a project. You'll notice in the CV template there are templates for course projects, for your undergraduate projects as well. We ideally want you to write it in bullet points. We can't have paragraphs in your CV or in your resume, right? Because a recruiter won't go through paragraphs. They want just the crux of the information, the key clear details. So this would be the kind of framework that you have, the kind of format that you have in your document. What this does is it gives a clear logical flow of what you've done, how you've done it, and what you've achieved as a result of it. Simple. Okay. Now, again, as I said, you can't write paragraphs. So within any bullet point, can you just keep writing 2, 3 lines? No, you have to keep it short, keep it crisp, and to the point, right? So just like the tweets used to be earlier, now the character count has increased a lot, but earlier it used to be just 140 characters, right? So try to keep it something around that. Okay, keep it short, just a line or maybe a line and a half max if it is something relevant. So each bullet point is just crisp. Okay. Now let's understand how you talk about your projects, how you mention your projects, right? Let's take this example, a very basic rudimentary example. You're baking a loaf of bread, right? How would you show it? What would be the order of points? You can just answer in chat. These are your two options. If you have any other ideas as well, you can tell. But ideally, these would be the two options. Baked a loaf of bread, kept the cake pan in the oven, blah, 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 combine ingredients, put it in a cake pan. What would be the logical order? Especially if you were to mention it in a project. This could be anything, building a robot, building an algorithm, building an application, right? The loaf of bread is just an example to get everybody in on it. So which order would you prefer? 4, 3, 2, 1 or the other one? Okay, somebody says 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. All right. Now somebody is saying 1, 4, 3, 2. All right. So both of you are actually correct to some extent, right? 4, 3, 2, 1 would be the obvious order. As in, first you did this, next you did this, next you did this. So it's in a step-by-step manner, right? But when we talk about it from the perspective of 1, 4, 3, 2, you're in the beginning, you're just saying what you've done overall. You're making that statement very clear. This is what I've done. I've baked a loaf of bread, not cake, not banana bread, just bread. Okay. And then you talk about the steps of how you went about doing it and what was the first step, next step, and all that. Right? So that would be the kind of approach that we will take 1, 4, 3, 2 for our projects. So of course we talk about what exactly you did and for what purpose in the very beginning, in the first bullet point. That's the summary statement, right? In case it was a group project wherein you were working with multiple people, I'll just show the format again. And if you're looking at the CV template, you'll be able to see it as well. If it was a group project wherein you were one contributor, you basically talk about what exactly you did in for that project, right? In the first bullet point, and you can add a one-line description for the project, which is something like the goal of this project was to do this, is this. The focus of this project was to analyze X, Y, Z, right? Things like that. If it is an individual project, the summary statement, your contribution, one-line description of the project, it all becomes one and the same. So in that case, we omit the one-line description. We just come directly to the summary statement of the project. What exactly is it that you did? Second point, you talk about how you did it, right? So there you include the technical skills that you've utilized, the processes, the steps, the tests, and everything, right? That goes under how. And finally, the result talks about the impact of the task. Basically, what did it achieve? What results did you get? Right? Now, the most important points would be the second and third, the methodology and the result. Right? The result shows how well you've done your project. What are the outcomes you had? Right? The testing you've probably done and things like that. It shows that you have received clear and proper outcomes. So try to include numbers, metrics, whatever is suitable to the project in the result. But more importantly, for a job resume, the second point is important because that is what talks about the skills you have used. Now, don't get me wrong, in the technical skills when we were discussing earlier, right, that section, you're mentioning what all skills you have. Why do you need to talk about your skills over here again in the projects? The reason is because your projects substantiate those skills. They are evidence of the skills, right? They show that, okay, this person actually has these skills and they've done this over here, right? Let's look at a quick example, a very basic example, online library management. I feel most of you would have done that at some point, right? But how do you show it in a resume? Okay, these are the different things that you can think of about it, or you can write down about it in a very rough manner, right? But this is what, how many? One, two, three, four, five, six bullet points. In fact, there is a paragraph in the beginning as well. It talks about everything. It's giving context. It's talking about a couple of features. It's developed as a web application compatible with any HTML browser. Okay. In terms of implementation, this is how you did it. You have designed the front end by using HTML, CSS, and all of that, right? You use PHP on the server side, right? But the context part that goes a little too much, right? It's explaining what an online library management system is and everything. That's not required. You focus on the key details, right? So how do you mention your key details in the 3-point structure? This: shorter, simpler, crisper, and more impactful. So the first point talks about what you did exactly, developed a web application that clears it the feature for the university library management done for this purpose. This is what you did for this purpose. Done. Second point, you talk about the skills you utilize and what you utilize them for. Design the front end using HTML and CSS, use Oracle and blah 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 for so, right? And finally, you talk about the testing that you've done. It was tested on 500 plus students, and you achieved a 98% accuracy. You'll notice here it says 512 and here it says 500 plus students. The reason is you can definitely go ahead and use these round figures wherever possible. It doesn't have to be, very specific. But the 98% has to be 98% because there it's required. The accuracy is required, right? But in general, if you're talking about volumes and stuff, you can go ahead and use the round figure. Now you'll notice over here we haven't mentioned the one-liner. Why? Because an online library management should definitely be an individual project, not a group one, right? So I hope everybody understands how to frame your three-pointer projects now. Like, can I get a yes in the chat? Just a quick yes in the chat, please, from everyone. Only one person. What about the others? Okay. All right. Excellent. So now I understand that most of you have been able to understand, right? What all you have and how exactly you mention your different aspects in your projects in the CV. Okay. But please, guys, parallelly keep working on your documents as well. Keep working on the CV as well, so that you're getting a better progress out of it at the end of this session. All right. So with that done, we basically move on to the next section of this, right? Now, see, it would have been a longer point, right? All of these, especially the methodology point, what all you used, right? What all skills you used and what you use them for. It could be a little longer than this if it was a more complex project. For an online library management, it's pretty simple, right? Simple and straightforward. Now, once we've understood how to write projects, a major chunk of the internships part is already ready. Okay, so you probably would have projects in your internships as well. You just mention them in the same way. You'll notice it's the same exact format, no difference at all. Okay, what is different over here is your internship title, or in case in future you get a job as well and you want to use your the same approach for your that CV as well, you can go ahead and do it. It will be largely similar going for another job, right? The approaches will be the same. So your job title or internship title, you mentioned that. The company where you're working, that's your employer. The duration of involvement, right? at any point if you're mentioning things for something that is ongoing, let's say you are still in the particular internship, or you're working on a project which is still ongoing, you just mention it as, say, AUG 2022 to present, instead of the ending month or year, right? If it's not over yet, you just mention it as ongoing with present. That's all. Now, what's different here is one line about the company that gives an idea of what the company does, what it is involved in, what industry it is from, and what is the scale of the company. Scale can be shown through turnover, their annual revenue, their employee base, even their client base for that matter, or their span of operations. What this one line does, it gives your recruiter a clear idea of which company you're coming from or which company you've interned with. Okay, because see, if you are from a reputed company, if you've mm, done an internship with a reputed company, it also reflects on the quality of your internship, right? So that helps over there. Besides that, you'll see 2 points over here: responsibility or learning experience, right? Again, as I said, for the volunteering, leadership experience, and everything, you have to show what you have done. That is important. Just saying that you were so and so intern at this place is not enough, right? So here again, you have to show what exactly you were doing as, say, operations intern, or web development intern. Yeah, whatever it is that you were doing, show what exactly you did, what skills you utilized, what you learned as well. Let's say some internships would not give you a lot of clear and heavy responsibilities to handle, but you would still be learning things, right? You can learn certain concepts, you can learn how an industry functions, how a particular sort of company functions and works, right? You can get a grasp of that, how a particular process workflow goes. You can understand that, you can learn that. So talk about that itself as well, if you do not have a clear responsibility, but clearly show what you've done in the internship period. Okay, so I hope everybody is clear with how we tackle internships as well. I'll just check once again if I have any poll questions to throw at you right now. Mhm. Okay, I think this pretty much covers what we have for the CV. So what you need to do now is, I showed you that colorful format, right? But format is not everything here. You need to focus on the content first for your CV, for your resume. So follow the templates, follow the formats, follow the discussion that we've had today, and put that into use. Put in the clear, proper content, the clear details that make your profile relevant for the job you're going for. Right? Freeze the content, focus on readability, be absolutely clear with the skills, the highlights, right? So once you do that, your CV will be in good shape. Okay. Now I was not able to ask this question earlier, but I would just throw this to you people now. Which of these do you have? Since we have discussed internships, there are a couple of things that will be very similar to internships when you're writing about them. So I'll just like to, if you have any of these, this is what the kind of approach you can follow. So people have certifications. I'm sure you people are clear with how to mention your certifications now, right? Yeah. Okay. Certifications, competitions, industrial visits. Okay. In-plant training as well. So again, the process for in-plant training will be very similar to internships, right? You've worked at a plant, you've worked at a workplace, and you gain training from it, right? So again, you'll talk about what you have learned and how you've learned it in the 2 points. If you have worked on any projects within that, excellent, mention that using the project template, right? No patents among us, okay, not a problem. Industrial visits, competitions will be very similar to how we mentioned the workshops or whatever we participated in, right? So again, in the extracurricular activity section, you'll find the format for it. Certifications is a dedicated section, of course, so you can just go ahead and fill those in over there. So these are the results of this poll. And moving ahead from that, I hope everybody has been able to add their technical skills. If not, do it right now. Quick. I want 100% yes for this. It just takes a couple minutes, put in all of your skills, whatever you can think of right now, under all of the categories. Because you can, of course, come back and update it later on. But whatever are your technical skills under all of these categories, just take a couple of seconds and get that updated right now, quickly. Only half of the people have voted yet. I think the others want to say no, but they can't. They're not going ahead and entering that. Okay. All right. That's good news. 100%, as I was expecting. Excellent. Excellent. So you see, there are so many sections of your CV which are already getting prepared, which are already getting completed. That this is actually what we wanted from the session. Okay. Um, what about other activities, workshops, seminars? Again, as I was saying, right? Your workshops, seminars, participations, these will be very similar in nature in terms of the format of presenting. What do people have from these? Have you attended workshops, seminars, conferences, tech tests? Again, if you talk about tech tests, it's important to show what you've done over there. Right? If you've presented a project, go ahead, talk about it, mention it. Okay, along with those details. Some people have attended conferences. I'm seeing that's good. I hope these are reputed conferences, right? Of sort of state level, national level, international level, whatever it is. But something which is relevant to the profile you are in. Seminars, okay, excellent. So some people were saying in the beginning that they do not have a lot of activities. I'm seeing a lot of good activities. If any of you do not have any of these, try to reach out, try to go out of your comfort zone to engage yourself in these activities which are relevant for the role that you're looking for. Okay, these really work a huge deal in showing that you have the initiative within yourself and you're interested in going out of your way to polish your skills, to apply your skills, right? What about other activities? Community service, volunteering. I know scholarships and awards are not activities per se, but again, they're awards. So awards and other extracurricular activities. What all do you people have? Okay, I'm seeing awards. I'm seeing scholarships as well. Excellent. So again, when you mention scholarships, right, it's important to show what was the name of the scholarship, what was the awarding authority, and when you got the scholarship. Okay. If you find it relevant, you can mention the amount of the scholarship as well, but usually you can go without it too. Okay, just the fact that you've earned a scholarship for something, for showing some sort of an excellence, that's great. You can go ahead and you can mention that over here. Okay? The same goes for awards as well. Yeah. If it's self-explanatory, like merit award for XYZ, good enough. Otherwise, if it's a particular title, make sure to explain what the award was for. Okay, and volunteering experience, community work, it's a very simple, straightforward method. You just follow the formats that are shown over there in the template, and you focus on what you have done, the impact that your work has had. All right. So I'll close this poll now, and this is the kind of response we've got. I'm happy to see that there are like around 80% of the people here have worked on volunteering activities. That's great. Because volunteering activities allow you to work with people, to exercise leadership beyond your academics and beyond other engagements, right? If you can use your skills to if you can put your skills to a good use, excellent. If you can lead a team through a volunteering activity for a particular initiative, that's amazing as well. Okay, so keep an open mind, go ahead and look for these activities that you can participate in, that you can enrich yourself with. Besides that, I do not think many of us would have entrepreneurial experience among us. But again, if you do, excellent. Any international experience, leadership experience here? Leadership experience, excellent. Okay. Can you just quickly add in chat what are these leadership experiences? Like, were you a club head or an event head in a particular fest, whatever it was? I just like to see the kind of diversity we're dealing with. No international experience among us? Okay. All right, that's fine as well. Definitely do share whatever positions you've held in chat, okay? I would like to see them. Okay. All right. So let's move ahead with the session now. A lot of questions and answers. And thank you for all your active inputs on these. Let's go ahead with the session now. Okay. Your CV, your resume, once it's ready. Now, I hope you've worked on your projects as well along with us, and you have a clear idea of how to work on it. Once your CV is ready, once your resume is ready, if you are applying for a technical sort of a role, where you feel that yes, all of your projects, there are a significant number of projects that need to be shown, and then it's going beyond one page. Okay, it's acceptable. Okay, but generally for roles wherein not all of those projects would be relevant, let's say a managerial role or an operational role, where not every piece of experience of yours, be it in internship based or research experience, if it's not necessarily related, if it's not necessarily relevant, try to trim down the length of your resume, of your CV, that is right. Besides that, something to be very clear about is your CV or your resume should be machine searchable. That is ATS compliant, right? Recruiters these days who are conducting mass recruiting, they're not looking at every CV from the beginning. They put them through filters, they put them through applications which sort them out and bring out the most relevant ones. And those are the ones that those recruiters go through in much more detail, right? We'll quickly discuss a few ATS compliant keywords as well that you can definitely include in your resume wherever applicable, wherever suitable. Besides that, your CV should modify, should change, and should adapt to the particular job you're looking for. Right? Based on that, you should modify the skills and the things that you're highlighting in your CV that are taking a more prominent position compared to others. Now, as I was saying, how to optimize your CV for the ATS, right? That is the application tracking system. Focus on role specific keywords as per your job title. Okay. That includes keywords about your skills, your key skills that are required for the role, keywords with regard to the industry that you're applying to, keywords with regard to your existing experience itself as well. Right. So these are the things that you would want to focus on and place these keywords in the right location. Ideally, it should be very prominently placed within the point. For example, in the projects, in the second bullet point, make sure it's there, right? If you are talking about other actions, right? Accounting, advertising, uh, data analysis, yeah. Uh, what else? What else can I see from here? Yeah. So these are skill keywords over here, right? Python, Excel, HTML, right? CSS. So these are the top keywords of the previous year and this year ongoing as well, right? Make sure you can incorporate them wherever relevant. Again, I'm not saying just randomly include these keywords, drop them in your document. No, but wherever relevant, try to highlight them. And if you feel that your relevant skills are not represented very well over here, it's perfectly fine. Make sure your document shows them properly. Whatever is relevant to you, whatever skills are relevant to your experiences and to the role that you're looking for. Okay. So make sure that your resume is written not only for a human reviewer but also for the ATS. This is just one thing that you can tweak in order to have improved chances of getting into a role. Okay. And trust me, this makes a huge difference. While we're talking about what makes a huge difference, another thing that is important is cover letters. Okay. Now, some of you might think that you want to know how to write a cover letter. In fact, in the very beginning, some of you also said that I think you want to understand how to write cover letters. Yeah, almost 25% of you said that you want to understand how to write cover letters. Right? So what is a cover letter? It's basically something that accompanies your CV or resume when it's going to a recruiter or to a potential employer, right? It's a very crisp, again, very crisp, short one-page document that basically talks about your contact details, the role you're applying from. It talks about relevant details from your CV and how you are, relevant to the role, how you are fit for the role. Just a very brief description of that. Okay. What is the purpose of it? Why is it necessary? In fact, nowadays we have emails, right? So it's a cover email instead. Why is it necessary? It's necessary because it helps you put a human touch. It helps you introduce yourself to the hiring manager, right? Especially if it's via a reference. You're not applying through a particular open portal, but you're applying through a particular reference. You can talk about them as well in the cover letter or cover email. Besides that, it shows how you plan to add value to the company, what you plan to bring to the table. This is something your CV doesn't show very directly, right? So this letter lets you add a little more personal touch to it. Besides that, of course, it contains all of your contact information, when you will be available for the role, right? How you feel you are suitable for the role, etc., etc. So the different components of a cover letter are these: introduce yourself to the employer, right? Inform them about the particular position that you're seeking for. Make sure your content includes the key highlights of your profile. So if you worked on a particular internship, which makes you, which gives you an edge for this job, mention it, right? Talk about why, what motivates you to work for this company or for this job. Bring that in as well. Besides that, as I said, showcase your writing skills. So this is, communication is very important in today's day and age. So it's important for your letter to be well drafted, well written, without any errors, because that shows that you're good at communicating in a written form at least as well. Of course, verbal communication gets checked in the interviews and stuff, but this gives a good first picture. Right? But then, do you always require a cover letter? Probably not. In general, you should definitely, get a cover letter when they're asking for it specifically. When you are applying through a reference, as I said, wherein there is not a clear, portal wherein you're applying for a particular job or whatever. You're applying through a reference, through a particular email ID. It always helps to, show the clear role you're applying for, why you're fit for it, and everything. So, if you're applying through a reference. Besides that, if you are, applying through your college, through college placements, then of course you do not need a cover letter unless the employer is asking for it specifically. Okay, because then they know what role you are applying for. They have all that data. They don't want another letter from you. But still, if an employer asks for it, go ahead and give it to them. Okay, that helps your case, nothing else. Now, when you're working on your cover letter, of course, you will get the structure of a cover letter from this template, right? In the handout section, you'll find that as well. The structure is pretty simple. If you're writing it in the letter form, you have the initial and the bottom portions, right? Which talk about your address, your contact details when you're writing it, and to whom you're writing. In the bottom, you have your name, signature, and everything, right? But the main body of it is what you are addressing, right? So in the beginning, you talk about uh, how you got to know about job role, right? Your interest in the role, why you feel you would be a good fit, and try to keep it genuine. Don't brag too much about things, right? But be very clear and specific over here. Right? Then the body talks about further establishing why you are good for the role, why you are suited for the role. Okay? So your skills, your abilities, your prior experience that makes you prepared for the role. You talk about all of them. Right? And then make sure to conclude it with a clear call to action. Now this call to action can be a very simple statement saying that you look forward to hearing from them on. Okay, what this does is it just gives a clear indication of this is what you're expecting as a result of it. Any letter should have a call to action at the end, right? The same applies for your cover letters as well. Okay, but what all are things that you should think about when you're writing a cover letter, right? To whom you're writing? Is it through the functional head, or is it to a particular, hiring manager? Where is this going, right? Because that is what helps you address it to a particular person. So you see over here, dear Mr., Ms., Doctor, whatever, whatever, right? Make sure your letter addresses a particular person, right? What action are you hoping that they'll take? Of course, they will probably, if the next step is the interview, talk about looking forward to the interview or whatever, right? If you know that the next step will be a particular group discussion round or something like that, mention that. What this does is it shows that you are aware of the process, right? You have a clear awareness of the process. Other things that you can think about is making sure that your skills fit with the position, with the company as well, right? What skills you should include, what you should exclude. As I said, most relevant ones, the ones that put the best case forward for you for a particular job, make sure you keep those. Other things which are not relevant, let's say you are excellent in Photoshop, but then you are applying for an engineering role which has no use of Photoshop. Don't mention it, it's not required. Okay, as long as well as other things, right? Why exactly you want to work there, how you can convey your knowledge, and how you can put it to good use for the organization, and what else would they need to know in order to understand your candidature. Think about these things and include them in your cover letter or cover email. Okay. So these are things that we've mostly already discussed. Make sure your letter addresses somebody in particular, right? Not just a building or an organization's name, but a person. Make sure you know you are addressing your cover letter to, who will be seeing your application, right? In case you have a reference, in case you have a friend or family member in the organization who has referred you, make sure you're including that reference. You're mentioning them, okay? Besides that, make sure you're mentioning the position that you're applying for very clearly, right? It should not have any the recruiter should not have any confusion between whether they're applying for SDE1 or SDE2. Okay, so be very clear about that as well. Of course, show your research on the company and focus on fulfilling the employer's needs. Okay, so you have the role, you have the job role, you have a job description, you have the qualities that they're looking for, right? Try to show how you fill the requirement that they have right now. That's all. You don't need to show why you need the job or whatever. That's not the approach to take on a cover letter. Okay. And of course, as we said in the very beginning, one page. The recruiter, if they do not have the time to go through a CV personally, if they're putting that through an ATS, they would not want to read a long essay as well, right? So keep it short, keep it brief to one page. Okay? And most important, make sure your cover letter, in fact, for your CV as well, make sure it is free of any errors. So proofread. Keep checking and rechecking until you submit. Okay. So that brings us to a close of today's discussion. And I hope everybody is now clear with how to approach cover letters or cover emails as well as the other sections of the CV. We will stick around for a little more to answer any questions that you might have. But in general, I hope that you have at least, if not 100% or 80%, at least 60% of your CV should be ready in parallel to today's session. Okay. And if it's anywhere below that, if it's less than 60% of a CV being ready, I would say while the session is fresh in your mind, work on the template, fill out your CV, get that completed. Okay. And yeah, while I wait for your questions, I have a few questions of my own as well, just to get an idea. We were discussing, right, what details should be added and things like that. Does your college give you a particular sort of, CV template to be followed, a particular CV format that you need to put in? Okay, okay. So for those of you who have a particular CV format from your college, right, you can also benefit from the process. The main idea is to mention the right details, right? In order to get into a recruiter's mind, in order to get their attention. Okay. So once your CV is ready in our format, what you can do is you can use the content and put it into your college's format as well. That's fine. That's okay. But if your college does not bound you to, does not bind you to a particular sort of format, then you can definitely use our format that is tried and tested, okay, with the industry. Um, Along those lines of those details, right? Other things that you should mention or not. What do you think? Should you add a photo? We spoke about nationality, father's name, gender, marital status, etc. Uh, those should not be required unless the employer specifically asking for it. What about pictures, photos? Okay, so most of you have voted and you're saying no. That's good because the same applies to photos as well. That also has a potential of creating bias. So ideally, until and unless a particular employer is asking for it, is asking for your photo to be included in your CV, do not add a photo. Okay, just as a sort of general rule of thumb. All right. But besides that, you can definitely include your LinkedIn profile. Okay, because that is professional. All right. In fact, you might have other activities that you've been working on your LinkedIn profile. If you're active on LinkedIn as well, they can see your posts, right? If they find something interesting that you're following, something interesting that you have to say, that can also act as building a better image for yourself in front of the recruiter. Okay? So I want to know if any of you have LinkedIn profiles. Okay. Uh, mhm. The people who have voted all have LinkedIn profiles. If you haven't voted yet, but even then, if you have a LinkedIn profile, make sure it is updated properly. Make sure you're doing something right with it, something good with it. Do not go around to those posts which randomly give out these job opportunities and type in interested in comments. This is something I have noticed people doing, and it does not paint a good picture of yourself. Okay? If you're going into posts and saying that I'm interested in X role, I'm interested in Y role, that doesn't usually help. A better way, if you really find a valid, viable job opportunity or internship opportunity through LinkedIn, which trust me, many people do find. It's very useful to have your updated LinkedIn profile and to network on LinkedIn. If you do find an opportunity, message them personally. Okay, make sure your LinkedIn profile is clean. And the people who are not on LinkedIn yet, what are you waiting for? Get onto LinkedIn because it really helps you network. It really helps you get in touch with people in the industry. It helps you understand which direction your role, your prospective role, can take you in the future. Right? It helps you a lot in discovering the industry as well. So I haven't gotten a lot of questions at the moment. So I think we'll be able to wrap it in a couple of minutes. Still, now also, if any of you have any questions, feel free to ask in chat and we'll answer them. Besides that, I would really like to know how you found today's webinar. Did you find it useful? Not at all useful? Be very honest about it.
Hey
Okay.
everyone, hope you had a good session with Shikar where you got to know about how to fill your resume, how to work on your cover email, and how to basically ensure that you're all ready. I know that some of you had prior questions before, which have all been answered. But just quickly, just to tell you maybe one or two tips before you go. I know that at this point of time, you may not have anything to fill. I think that can be the concern for many people. I saw some of the poll questions that you had answered, and some of you said that, hey, we don't have many things to add, right? Do not worry. That is exactly why you had um, uh, you would have the profile building activities given to you. This is the time to work on the course, advanced course, and then get the projects done. This is the time for you to actually know how to plan your time in the next few months so that you can start working on the resume. So do not feel so bad if your resume does not have too many things on it at this moment. It is important for you to understand how to present a resume, what are some categories that go into it, and what is the expectation of some recruiter or a prospective employer who is going to be hiring you. So whether you're getting a job through campus placements or through career labs or through other means, you will need to have a resume as part of it. Okay. So we have one last question for you, I believe, in terms of what was the most useful part of the webinar. In case you have further questions about your resume or you want to ask us, please don't hesitate to write to us the same email ID that you use always. And yeah, thanks so much. So I think everybody said that you really liked the writing the projects in the resume, right? So because see, what is a resume without the projects? Because that's the whole deal. Knowing how to write the projects, knowing how to present the tasks that you've done in a particular internship or professional experience is the one, right? All right. So on behalf of the team, and thanks to Shikhar for helping you through this important topic. So on behalf of the team, we wish you all the very best and keep in touch. until we see you next time for your next focus of the month session. So just a quick thing, your next focus of the month session will happen and you'll get invites again. And we're going to be talking about a very important topic then as well, right? So take care, everybody, and thank you.